Okay, just give me 5 minutes. Talk about this Friday night tight stuff. But first, let me just put this. I have been coughing a lot lately, and since yesterday I ate this ice cream, and of course I've been coughing in non-stop. Um, Not that bad coughing. It's just time to time I'll cough. Not a big deal. I'm just kind of worried because as I mentioned in my previous live stream, watch the previous stream. I do give my personal issues, so check it out. It's about me being sick. So if you are interested in that, check it out. If you don't want to watch the full thing, just watch the first 5, 6 minutes. That's where I actually discuss my sickness. And I hope it's just a flu because I've been sneezing a lot, you know. And I've also developed a lymph node. And obviously, it's pretty rare for me to. I don't know. It's been years since I felt something there, so I don't know. I hope it's just a flu. I hope it's just a flu and not something harsh. Because these days, anything now, anything you have, you search, it gives you the harshest answers ever. It has said rarely it can be cancer, but obviously, I'm terrified. You know why? Because here's the thing, life comes at you so fast. That's why I'm kind of terrified, and some people may disagree with me on that, but I am terrified. When you read something, you get anxiety. I don't think it is. I hope it's not. I just hope it's not, because for the past few days now, I've been worried. It was a bit more red when I first discovered it. The next day I discovered it, it was a bit red, but obviously, not much has changed. Maybe it's slightly shrunk, but that's it. I hope it shrinks some more. All of my antibiotics are completely finished. Um, yeah, I have had like a couple of lumps in my ear. Obviously, that has to be some kind of infection. And since the lymph node is next to my ear, it indicates I have some kind of infection. The lumps in my ears have been slowly. There's one that's very round, like such a round ball. That's something I don't know if it's going because it's slightly less problematic. I would get those time to time. However, there was a bigger lump inside and it's slowly shrinking. Obviously, I am sick, sneezing and stuff like that. I just want to mention this if you're not going to watch the previous live stream. I'm just kind of worried, but at the same time, I want to be positive. It's hard to be positive when all you can find is negativity. And I hope for the best. I'm just 20 years old, okay? I'm hoping for the best. I hope it just goes away and we can move on and I can continue to talk about other stuff. Sorry if this sounds so sad. I did not want to start off this video with such a sad taste. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's just hope for the best. Okay, so if you can't see the screen, I'm sorry, but I have my Nintendo Switch over here, and as you can see, I can watch some videos. I forgot about my Nintendo Switch. In my previous live stream, I said I have no other device to to watch something content over, but I have this device. Obviously, you can't see through properly because it can't focus. Anytime I live stream, I can't focus. So that's kind of unfortunate. Anyways, also, I forgot to mention, sometimes when I do swallow some stuff, it does hurt. So possibly I'm sick, very sick with some kind of infection. Hopefully it's just something very small, not something bad, not something life-threatening. Okay, I want to talk about Gavin, is that his name? Gavin um, McKinns. Is that how I said Gavin? Gavin McKinns. McGinns. I would call him McGinns. Gavin McGinns. McKinns. Okay, Gavin McGinns. McKinns. I'm sorry if I mispronounce it. Now, it was on Friday Night Tights. I was like a bit baffled when I saw the thumbnail hours before the stream even launched. I never watched the stream. I went to sleep. I fell asleep. Obviously, the next day I think I found out that um, I think it was the next day. I found out that they posted the live stream on the second channel, and I was worried what happened. I was worried what happened. Then I read the comments, and basically people were saying Gavin was basically on the show just beating them up, and I had no idea it did something that was so out of line for YouTube, you know? Um, what happened was, do you guys remember how I got my guideline strike? Do you guys remember? Basically, YouTube said there was nudity, even though there was no nudity in my videos. YouTube said there was nudity in one of my videos, two of my videos, in fact. So I have a warning, I have a strike, and what was crazy was there was no nudity. I did not appeal it because I realized that there's no point in appealing something that's just going to be a waste of time. You know, it was just a piece of underwear someone was wearing, and it looked like it was skin. Okay, that's coming from me. Okay, that's my video. That was one of my videos on someone. Now this guy, Gavin McInnes, you know what he does? Do you want to know what he does? Oh my goodness. He goes towards the end of the stream and he shows himself. He exposes himself. Yeah, he exposes himself, and I don't know if it was a fake thing or it was his actual D, and he just started peeing everywhere. What I heard was from today's live stream from Jeremy on his D-Day Cobra account. What I found out was Gavin asked to come on. They didn't pester him. Gavin asked to come on the show. So he came on the show just to ridicule them. You know, people will ridicule Friday Night Tights for having Alex Jones twice, but Alex Jones never ridiculed any of these guys on stream. He had a blast with them. He had a blast with them. He respected them. And look, I'm all for debate. You know, there were times when Jeremy and Nerdrotic, they were they were they were bantering it up, and of course, it was just a silly argument and stuff. But that's it. That's literally it. Like you can have debates. The problem is that when you come on just to crap all over someone and then expose yourself and act as if you're a better person. I'm sorry, but you can't call other people immature for playing video games while you do something so immature, which is expose yourself. Nerdrotic's channel is still okay. It's just that I'm glad he censored it, and I'm sure you can find the uncensored version of it somewhere. Uh, Obviously, I saw the censored version, and that was just so embarrassing. Okay, I've not watched the full video, so let's hear what he says. Okay, let's play.
I'm not sexist. See, I think this whole trans thing may have started with video games where someone plays as a chick for 6 hours, and the next thing you know, they're a chick. Like, what was that video game you were playing, Ryan, where you used to kill dinosaurs in drag?
Horizon Zero Dawn, but you don't have an option.
Okay, now here's the thing when it comes to transing people, transing the trans ideology. Obviously, you know, the trans stuff has obviously exploded over time. Compare this to like 10 years ago. This wasn't a major case. Now it's everywhere. And this isn't just with video games. Yes, with video games, most people who are making video games, the profound video games, are woke. Even major companies are bowing to ESG because that's what they want. That's what they want. They want to appeal to the woke people. You know? Everyone is woke apparently, so they want to appeal to woke people. And this is not me making it up. Check it out. So many companies are choosing to be social justice warriors and just entertain the public. What's embarrassing is that most of these companies are listening to people that are going to crash their company down. It happened with the Saints Row company. It happened with the new team that worked with the Forspoken game. Just remember, you can fight against ESG if you just don't purchase the damn product. You know, no one's forcing you to purchase certain things that you disagree with. Take people who don't like Hogwarts Legacy. 90% of people who hate J.K. Rowling have not played the game. Those who are staunch haters will not play the game. You know why? Because they stick to their values. They stick to what they believe in. Many people these days will just complain about something, but then they'll consume it. I know I'm part of that at times. I fell for that at times, and I'm sorry. But we have to do better. When it comes to people who hate Hogwarts, who hates J.K. Rowling, they never played Hogwarts Legacy. They never touched the game. Okay? You can disagree with them how they behaved, but just remember they strict with what they believe in, which is not a surprise. Moving on, I'm just saying that most video games these days are made by social justice warriors, and that's why you get a lot of propaganda. You get a lot of propaganda. Now, Fortnite's having a female option. I don't think it'll make you trans. I don't really think so. I think there's a very low chance of that happening. I think that's a very low chance of that happening. There's more of a high chance of someone becoming trans because of their teachers in school rather than a video game. I can speak for someone who fell under the trans stuff from a video game. Okay? From a video game. Obviously, there were other things that mixed up my life too, but most people, it's a rare case. It's a very rare case. Most of the time, you'll see a lot of uprising of trans folk, especially trans children. You'll wonder how come there's so many trans children? Because they're in school. Okay, some of the video games they play may have certain type of communities that maybe praise this type of stuff. That's it. And especially on the internet, you aren't allowed to say anything. So that's the problem. No one wants to push back. That's the problem.
Okay. Gavin, if you're going to be playing a game where you're going to be staring at a character's ass for 6 hours, would you prefer to stare at a male ass or a chick's ass?
If you're going to play a game where you're looking at yourself, would you rather it was a man's arse or a woman's arse? Why don't you just dress up as a woman and look in the mirror then? You're looking at a chick.
Or you could just dress up as a woman and play the game. I mean, Shad does wear skirts.
Okay, so it starts to be a bit more blunt at times, and people do not like that. And look, you can make jokes, you can say whatever, but the problem is that he's not making jokes to just to make people laugh. He's just saying it because he wants to be
So,
He's
offensive.
the only one that doesn't play games here, so he's probably the only one that's not super gay from that perspective.
except for my shirt.
I don't think it's gay. I think it's infantile. I think that it,
That's the problem, you know. There's nothing wrong with playing games as an adult, but you need to understand that you also have responsibilities as an adult. Do not let that game overtake your life, you know. Game addiction is a thing, but also other addictions as well. Drug addiction. Most adults get into drugs. Don't let that become your life. Don't let certain things become your life. That's all I'm trying to say, you know. And games people can profit over, but at the same time, don't let that overtake your responsibility, you know. Games are fun and they meant to make us feel pleasure, you know, make us feel happy. I don't want people just, always looking into reality. I do believe escapism matters and escapism is a right, and gaming is part of that. Most games these days don't really want to provide escapism, but obviously gaming was obviously a form of fun, escapism. So, yeah.
you're playing with your kids, it's a good way to bond with your kids, but this perpetual adolescence of giving a shit about superheroes and video games, I mean, it's embarrassing.
You picked the perfect podcast.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh no.
Let's see.
Well, no shame to my game, baby. You guys get into the economics of it, and it's obviously a multi-trillion-dollar industry, so the economics of it are fascinating. But then you sort of go, why not just work there? Like, you should work at Disney or Marvel or something. You know more than most of the people there.
Well, we haven't cut our dicks off, so
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do think when it does come to what's driving a lot of culture, it's undeniable that the reason they've taken over these industries is because they know they can have an effect on culture.
Yes.
Like, so regardless if some people aren't interested in something, there are a lot of people who are, and that's what we're seeing play out in culture right now because of a lot of the shit that's shoved into nearly every aspect of the entertainment industry.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. I noticed that all the cartoon characters, whatever, comic book characters are black now.
Yes.
Like Thor and everyone is going black.
I'm not a big fan of that.
Isn't it possible that these companies are going, well, we already got whites. Blacks seem to love our shit. Like, if you go to a comic store in Manhattan, it's all black people walking around. It's like their library. So maybe they're going, let's just up our numbers and make it black and we'll sell more.
No, I think what it is when people that dismiss the culture like you have been push that
This section where Jeremy grills him.
kind of mindset away, and then social justice freaks actually take over those industries, and then they pander to children, and now they're indoctrinating children because you're dismissing the importance of how it has on the overall culture, and that's why we're losing the culture. So I think that's why we're getting so many black characters, because freaks that don't care about this stuff have overtaken it, and people that should be interested in it are dismissing it because they don't realize its importance. And it's why we have a psychopathic, geriatric man that doesn't know where he's at in the White House right now, and that's a big problem.
It is, and it's not just. There you go.
Yeah.
It's not, and it's what Eric July calls hand-me-downs. It's just the race and gender swapping. It's not like they're not putting time or money into making new black characters. That's the other part. It's just absolute pandering, and it's in its laziest form because they're the ones who actually believe these are marginalized people, and they want to keep them marginalized. They'd love to keep them in their margins. And
there's got to be a business argument for it somewhere. Like, why would a company?
It's called our channels. It's called our channel.
No, here's the thing. Yes, everything is a business. Everything is a business, and woke people don't get that. Woke people don't get the fact that it is a business. A lot of companies, especially riddled with ESG, for them, they can spend all the money everywhere. Doesn't really matter, does it? They're set for life. Here's the thing. Jeremy hits hard on the head. People like Gavin dismiss the culture. They dismiss it every time. Because the only response is it's immature, but that's the problem. It's not immature. You can have adult games. This is why many of us are in this situation today. People in the past did not say, okay, you know what? We'll make our own content. Look what Daily Wire is doing, for instance. They are trying to entertain the public. They know very well that they can have an effect on the culture. They are fighting back. They even made chocolates to fight against Hershey's. That is complete dedication to fighting back. Unfortunately, a lot of companies don't really care about being in the middle ground. They rather just say, oh, if you disagree with me, then F off. And these companies have been doing that ever since 2016 time. They've been doing that, and that's a big problem. So, moving on from this, I just want to say that people like Gavin, years ago, we're talking about the 60s, 70s, they did not fight back as much. People who had the opposition viewpoint, they did not fight back. They did not say, you know what, let's just make something fun. Razorfist has a lovely video on this. Excuse me. He has a fantastic video. He made it years ago. He talked about two sides of Hollywood, left and right. And around the 60s, the right just gave up. And that's the problem. When you give up something, everyone then comes up, sprouts up. You make your enemies win. You know that, right? Don't give up. That's the most important part. Never give up. Never let people push you down. Yes, back in the 60s, it was a very high political time. yet they gave up. If they continued to make content, none of this would have been a problem. I feel like if people continue to cook up content and and obviously focus forward, it would be perfect. So Jeremy is right. We wouldn't have been in this place if it weren't for people just dismissing it. If it weren't for people just dismissing everything as evil, as childish. I'm sorry, but you can still enjoy things even if you're an adult. You know, you can still enjoy things. So I don't see the big issue with that. Obviously, there are people out there who are way too childish and they should mature, but playing a child game is not the end of the world, you know? I'm just gonna skim up a bit because it's a long video.
Out and work out as a kid and try and attract a lady was my appreciation of Superman. It was a heroic kind of ideally version of masculinity originally that encouraged me to try and be a better person and be a better man. It was a very positive thing, and I think that those influences are very good for kids. But also, I think you can enjoy going to and still get those positive influences and things, and then you start to try and make your own stories. And stuff.
Let's see your guns. You've been working out.
All right, Gavin. If you want to test the strength, I shoot 100-pound longbow. Okay, I'll challenge you to try and do that, like heavy war bow. All right, and
Where will shoot that at the Renaissance Fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's in fucking Australia. They can't have guns. What else is he supposed
not
to do?
allowed to have
Exactly,
guns.
That's my self-defense. That's my defense.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying about sports, but the thing about sports too is I think we all have a genetic love for war. It's in our we're meant to be battling right now, but we haven't been doing it for like the past 1% of our existence or whatever it is. So when you go to see the Mets play a game, you're in the Coliseum, you're watching the Lions eat the Christians, whatever, but that's also a simulation of war. Even back then, you're watching a battle happen.
Yes.
No one dies, and it sort of triggers our war gene without any bloodshed.
I think.
Gavin, you could be. I'll just say, Gavin, you could be a real man and get into real warfare and weapons like actual swordsmen and stuff.
Yeah.
I think the other half is we are also connected. Like you just said, we're connected to war. We're also connected to stories.
Yes.
The other half of what our culture was built on was telling each other stories. So a lot of these things are like you're telling each other stories. You're reading stories about Superman or whatever, and you're telling them to your kids. So, like that's something that's I think is inherent to everybody.
No, it's something people have been doing for forever. For as long as people were hitting themselves or hitting each other with clubs, they were also telling stories around the fire to inspire
Yeah,
people.
video games aren't stories.
Like
This is
that.
like when people say wrestling is stories. What's the story? The guy wanted to fight Undertaker and he hit him on the head? Okay.
Yeah, wrestling.
What a great story. What a plot twist.
100% story, 100%. I've actually promoted wrestling matches. I've actually ran them. So yes, it's 100% story. Because
Okay.
there's an art to making the audience hate you as the bad guy. You have to actually work the audience. You have to actually work the audience, just like you're working
Work
the
the audience.
So you're doing exactly the heel.
You are the
role
heel.
right now. Yeah, and there's an art form to that. And then you have to tell the opposite side of the story, which is the face, and then you get the crowd to cheer them, and you're telling a story within the ring. So yes, it is 100% story.
That's the kind of story that you would tell monkeys. Like, this is not exactly a nuanced story.
Do you think the vast majority?
I'm bad guy. I'm bad guy. Hey, I'm good guy. I'm good guy. I hit punch bad guy. Yeah, get the bad guy.
Do you think the vast majority of the American public are just like these supreme intelligent beings out there that are making 100% informed decisions? And,
I don't even dislike wrestling. I don't get it. The fact that there's those crowds screaming, like my trainer puts on wrestling because he thinks it gets me pumped. And I'm like, no, dude, you might as well be putting on like the Discovery Channel.
Well,
It
it
is
depends on
so
what wrestling
fucking
you're putting
bizarre to
on,
me.
because current wrestling is horrible, and it's been horrible for about 10 or 15 years. But if you go
As
back to the
opposed to what? Jake the Snake pulling a
No,
snake out of his bag?
as opposed to Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, that literally had a massive impact on not even the wrestling fan base, but they transcended wrestling fans and transcended into pop culture overall, and it kind of inspired a whole new attitude within younger people that showed that you can stand up against authority, and you don't have to just say yes or no sir all day long. So yeah.
When was the last time you read a book?
What type of book?
Non-fiction book. With no picture.
I read a comic book called Isom, that our friend
No.
Eric July just
No, that doesn't count.
Exactly. So what type of book?
Well, they're called, most people when you say book, they think of that thing with all the words in it that has no
A
picture.
chapter book.
Yeah. So the last book I believe I read was Jurassic Park: The Lost World. Is that a book?
I guess.
Well, I'm asking you, does that qualify as a book?
No. No.
It's a fiction. Yeah.
So
I was reading a
non-fiction
book called Star Wars. What's his name? Carl Dunnigan makes a joke about Will Wendell, the guy who loves to get lost in books, and he just read Star Wars, and he loves that little tiny dog Chewbacca and the giant 60-foot robot that is C-3PO, because it only exists in his imagination, because there's no pictures in his Star Wars book.
So give
What
me
about a
five book.
non-fiction book?
No, I've never been a big fan of sitting around
So-
reading. I like activity, so I play sports. I'm usually out and about. I like racing. I like playing video games.
When was the last time you read a non-fiction book?
Only a couple of weeks ago, did the
About a month
research
ago.
papers on metallurgical analysis of period swords count? Because I read those all the time.
Yes.
I've never read a non-fiction before.
America Before by Graham
What's
Hancock.
the definition of book? We need to know what
Yeah.
the definition of
Yeah,
book is.
exactly.
Yeah.
A non-fiction
He
book.
said a non-fiction book. That is what.
Yeah.
Hey, research papers count.
Research papers could count too, because those are pretty
Yeah.
in-depth.
I mean, I read my scriptures all the time. They would count as well, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, I used to read a lot of political books from a lot of political talking heads until I realized they're all kind of part of the same system.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably been about 4 years since I read an actual nonfiction
Yeah.
book cover to cover.
Do you count audiobooks? Because a lot of people do listen to audiobooks but don't read.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm reading a book right now called Empire of the Summer Moon about the Comanches and Crazy Horse and stuff. And I realized if I get it on Audible, then I pick up where I left off the night before, and then I'm starting to like the Audible more than the reading. And I know it's frowned upon, but why?
Yeah,
It's easier to get through it. You
No.
absorb more if you actually read it yourself, but you can get through it much quicker if you listen to somebody read it to you, especially if you're driving the car or whatever. I'll ask
Yeah, I
you
guess
this,
your mind wanders more when you listen to an audiobook.
Yeah. 1984. Would you consider that something worth reading, even though it's not?
Okay, so I'm not gonna dive that deep into the full video. That'll take forever. So what I'm gonna do is just say, hey, you know what? You know what? I think that let's just say that is wrong on many things. It's very wrong on the idea that video games are only for children, and what else? Comic books. Comic books are pretty okay. That's the problem. Conservatives need to take back their culture. Just remember, the people who were making these comics years ago, century ago, they were not just like woke people. They believed in God. So even paintings, drawings, plays, acting, most of it obviously come from people beyond our time. And of course, today we don't have that many people wanting to dissent from the modern day folk. I'm just not that interested in people that just don't want. Okay, look, I'm not trying to be rude. I want people to change their mind. It's unfortunate that people don't want to change their mind on this because the art of winning is to embrace art. If you embrace art, you embrace the culture. You need to embrace a culture that was once so perfect, so pure. Now all all dirty, like a quagmire. It's not something that the culture. Okay, the culture is not something we can look at anymore. We can stand by. We have to change it, and we should have been doing that long ago. Not now. Not late 2020s. Not late 2010s. We could have done this early 2000s. We could have done this early 90s. This could have been done long ago. And I think the best response is to always not let one person hinder your work. You know, I'm not gonna let Gavin stop me from working on my comics. I'm not gonna let him stop me working on stories whatsoever. So there we go. The best piece of advice I will give is to remember that all of this stuff right now, movies and all that type of stuff, drawings, guess what? Guess what? People in the past were not like this. The art forms were not like this. The art forms were spectacular. It was respected. And you can behave the same way. Okay, look. If you look at a picture, look at a picture. Let's just say there are two people looking at a picture on something, and one person sees the picture of a beautiful, beautiful forest, and it brings him possibly to think, okay, I need to bring paper. I need to draw this properly so you guys know what I'm talking about, because sometimes my tongue wanders off. Okay, okay. So, okay. So let's just say there are two people. Yes, I'm drawing stick figures, okay? Why? Why not? I'm not going to take my time trying to draw a big face and everything like that. There are two people, and look at this beautiful image of a forest. Just imagine this is a very beautiful image. When you think of a beautiful image of a forest, certain images come out. Maybe you saw an image online recently. Maybe you went to a forest. Maybe you live near a forest. You possibly experienced some kind of forest. Maybe so that image comes to you. Or maybe a fictional place. Think of it like that. Okay, but let's just say, for the sake of this argument, okay, this image is not fiction. It's a real place. It's taken somewhere very beautiful. And you have two people. Both of them have strange backgrounds. So this one comes from someone who, you could say, fell in love with so much of fiction. So this person is obsessed with fiction. And of course, let's just say this person is not really obsessed with fiction. This person sees everything as black or white. Everything as black or white. Let's just say, okay, let's just spin the story up. Okay, let's just change it up a bit. I'm sorry, I keep changing it up. But let's just say that this forest is a very historical forest. Something happened in the forest. Now, this person loves fiction and everything like that. This person doesn't. And this person will see it as it is. This person will also see it as it is. But inspiration can spark. So there we go. Let's take a different image. You could say an image of, I don't know, something beautiful. Something very beautiful. Let's just say a very divine painting of some kind of forest or whatever. Two people again. This time, this person loves fiction, and this person is also having a relationship with God. So you could say God fearing. And this person, you know, let's just say not interested in that, not really interested in fiction. I don't know where I'm going with this. I really don't know where I'm going with this. I thought this was going to be a fun video. I have no idea where I'm going with this. Okay, moving on. This person will see something so beautiful, you know, beauty, divinity. This person won't. They'll just see a picture of a beautiful forest and that's it. So this person can get inspired by this picture and work on something just as beautiful as that because of their background. It all depends on your background and how much you want to change and make your own background. I hope that makes sense. I don't think it does, but let me just say that culture matters. Why do you think a lot of artists in the past devoted pictures of God, Christianity? Why do you think a lot of people did that? It's their culture. Okay, I was reading Lord of the Rings, and obviously it's not as like popping up, but the Christian allegory is somewhat there the more you dive into it. And the thing is that, you know, reason why I get so much of that allegory is because Tolkien is a Christian, you know, is a Catholic. This guy grew up as a Catholic. This guy has strong religious culture weaved in him. So that's why you can see a complete, you can, not really allegory, but you can always see some similarities at times because that's his inspiration. That's his culture, his inspiration. The way he saw the world, the way the world saw him. That's how it happened. That's how things happened. So, what else can I say? What else can I say? I don't really know. I don't really know. It's all about what you believe in and sometimes how you want to see everything. Anyways, I'm just so tired. Not fatigued, but I'm just tired of trying to make sense out of something. So when it comes to the culture war, the reason why there's so much of progressive content rather than content just for fun, it's because many people don't really want to counter that. People just want to say, okay, that's bad, moving on. There are people in our small communities right now. I know a couple of people, not personally, but I do know a couple of people who are working on content, trying to entertain. They're working on something, you know. People who got inspired by, whom got inspired by Herrick July. People who have been working on content for years. You need to understand that that's one way to push back. Some of us like to create, but at the same time, this culture war stream met with us and now taking us on the road. And obviously, we are just trying to make sense of everything. The best way to make sense of everything is to not give up. So, yeah, that's some kind of important advice for those who are struggling. So when people say games are for children, now yes, there are games specifically catered towards children, but it doesn't mean adults can't play it. That's something I just really wish people understood, you know? We have lost a lot in the culture war because people just think everything is childish. Not everything is childish, and I think we need to understand that. Alright then. 40 minutes in and I have nothing else to say. Maybe I can talk about other types of content as well. So, I feel like the best thing to do is obviously when it comes to the culture, this is something a lot of people don't really want to talk about, but sometimes you have to get into certain type of communities that you don't like. You know, like you have to butt in, you have to kind of go in the quagmires and build up a stall, set up something. You have to do something like that. I'm not a fan of Xbox, but I want to make games for Xbox. You know, I own an Xbox, but I want to make games for it because it's much easier to get into, I guess. And even though I don't agree with Bill Gates whatsoever, I feel like it's good to kind of use that as a platform, you know, to make content. And that's something people need to understand. We can use it to make content. So, what else can I say? I don't even know. To round off this video, let me just say that this is it. Um, my best response to Gavin is don't come on people's shows that's just about culture and pop culture. Don't do that if you don't like it because you don't have to. You had a choice. I've heard that it was Gavin who did this. Gavin who propped up and wanted to come in and talk about stuff. So it was Gavin who asked to be on the show. You asked to be on the show, yet you go on there and make a fool of yourself, and that's something pretty important as well. Okay, at the end he did expose himself, and the thing is that it's either himself or a fake thing. But that was very childish to do for a guy who always complains about childish stuff. So yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. Bye.